What has Pakistan been asking for non-stop almost every day? They've been asking for evidence. What have they been given today? Evidence. Is that incontrovertible evidence or not? Well, that's really the question. But it's not just Indian evidence, it's also American evidence. Now, would you agree, General Qureshi, that now Pakistan is in a bind? It has wanted the evidence, it has got the evidence. Now it cannot, after this, continue to dilly-dally and say, now let's go into the definition of terrorism. Let's go into whether intercepts are admissible evidence or not. I mean, you've got to look at it in black and white, don't you?
I don't think there's anyone who in this case seems to be dilly-dallying. That's the first issue that I just want to voice an opinion on. Because I think what happens is that each time a movement is made, there seems to be a panic sort of a reaction from New Delhi saying that evidence has been provided and post-haste action should be taken. I'm not saying that action will not be taken if evidence is coherent and acknowledged.
General Qureshi, with all respect, the problem is right now for Pakistan that it's not just India that is going to get tired of all the denials. It's also the government of the United States, which has interviewed Kasaf, which has got its own evidence. In fact, there has been like almost DNA matching. Imtiaz, correct me if I'm wrong, Imtiaz. Almost like DNA matching, there has been matching of the evidence India has got and the evidence America has got. And all these intercepts of the terrorists talking on the other side to their handlers in Pakistan is American evidence. You agree, Imtiaz, with that? It's American evidence as well.
Well, I think your foreign secretary also denied, or maybe I think he kept quiet about the DNA test of Kasab. But I think as far as this dilly-dallying or the definitions of terrorism, we really have to look at the entire issue very, very dispassionately. No country can allow itself to be dictated and be guided by the definitions that comes from the other side. You know, when what we have got, what we have been told by the Ministry of Information today is a dossier of information that has come through from New Delhi. And I think logically, the people here would go through that dossier. That's the standard operating procedure, and they will determine whether it contains enough information to take any action. And only then I think can India expect something tangible from the government of Pakistan.
Mulford said today, and here I want to start opening up questions that any of our panelists in India may have to our panelists in Pakistan. But it was Mulford who said today, he said when American nationals are involved, we keep American interests at stake, and in this case that is what has happened, and he said period, full stop. Now, Vinod Mehta, do you want to come into that debate at this point? Because we are getting two sets of replies from General Rashid Qureshi and Imtiaz Gul, which you heard there. Can evidence get any more specific than this?
Well, yeah, Arnab, I think the first point is a very important point I wish to make, is this, that some of our Pakistani friends have been saying that India is beating the drums of war, and even on your program just recently, someone said that we are on the verge of war. Well, if you examine everything that India is doing, it is only exploring the diplomatic and legal option. There are no drums of war in this country. Is that this evidence, this dossier that has been presented now to Pakistan, is not the only piece of evidence the Pakistanis have. Arnab, as you know, the Americans monitor Pakistan much more intensely than India does, because they have more interest in Pakistan, they have more assets in Pakistan. Therefore, the American dossier or the American information that has been handed over to Islamabad is about 20 or 30% more than what is contained in our dossier.
I think there were 2 points made here. One was that India is not beating any drums of war. I would like to remind Mr. Mehta that in the beginning of, in the past 1 month, on a single day, twice Indian aircraft fully armed penetrated 3 to 4 kilometers into Pakistani airspace.
But that's not the point now.
What does that mean?
But that's not the point now.
Hold on. So, no. That was the first point he made. He said that India is not beating any drums of war. What was India doing? Penetrating with its air force 4 kilometers into Pakistani airspace. Okay.
Well, the
Now, here.
Pakistani
Let-
president
let's-
himself
let's-
denied that it was a technical intrusion.
Oh.
I mean, that if you think that intrusion was an act of war,
Yeah.
then I think this is ridiculous.
You
It's
know-
not an act of war.
You know something. Maybe there's an issue in what Mr. Zardari said, but you must understand, and I'm sure everyone in India understands, that this is never done. However, let that be put aside. Let's not discuss that issue now. The second part was how Pakistan would respond to evidence that has been provided by India and, according to Mr. Mehta, by the United States. Frankly, before we start discussing how Pakistan is going to respond, I think we need to just wait a little and let the Pakistan government come up after its study of the dossier.
Right.
And you'll also see
Right.
that nobody will be hedging. Nobody will be sidelining the issue. They will come up with a proper, correct response.
Okay.
And if that means
Okay.
arresting people, trying
Arnab,
them,
that is
I'm sure the
perfectly
government will do it.
Arnab,
Yes.
that is perfectly legitimate. I think our Pakistani friends are entirely justified in saying they want to examine the dossier, they want to see what is contained in
Yes.
the dossier. But surely that should not take more than 24 or 48 hours.
Yes, that's the point.
India is not going to wait for months and months for the dossier to be
That's the
examined.
point.
So I agree entirely that they have every right to examine the dossier,
Yeah.
cross-question the dossier.
Yeah.
But there must be an element of urgency, some sense of expediency here, that we want to get to the bottom. It's been 6 weeks and we have made absolutely no
Okay.
progress except denial and counter-allegation.